Hi, my name is Claire Kavanagh and I'm currently in Kavanagh's tea room. What I want to show you today is how to make gluten-free eclairs. So I have all of my ingredients measured out, and what I'll do is at the end of the tutorial I'll put a list out there so then you can make them at home and enjoy them yourselves. So I'm starting with some butter. I always use salted, and you can use unsalted if you like. I'm using self-raising flour. I have a little xanthan gum. I have 4 eggs and I have some milk mixed with some water. I found it works to do half and half, but again, it's a little bit different depending on which way you're coming from. French way, it can be either, and I found that having half of the milk, it just makes the rise a little bit better. So first thing we need to do is we need to melt the butter in the milk and get it bubbling. So that's what we'll do now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to a boil, and as soon as it starts to bubble I shall add the flour and the xanthan gum, and then what you want to do is stir, very similar to how you would make normal eclairs. The only thing is you're adding xanthan gum and you're using gluten-free flour, and the idea is we still want it to pull away from the side of the saucepan and make a ball in the middle. So I'm going to go do that now. Okay, so as you can see we've got a rolling boil. It kind of looks like all of the butter is melted, which is exactly what we want. And now I'm going to throw the flour and the xanthan gum mix in. Now what I do is I reduce the heat, I keep it cooking, and I stir, trying to incorporate the whole mix together. But really the most important part here is that we get the flour to cook itself out. So you can see it's coming away from the sides. It does work a little bit differently than when you make it as a non-gluten-free version, but it's very similar. The smell is the same. Now what we need to do, what I certainly do, is I squash the mixture down onto the hot pan, make sure I've got no little pockets of flour that's uncooked, and I do that for about a minute. So the whole time this is on the lowest heat. I have tried loads of different versions of this and found that the longer I cook it through, the better the version, and the more likely I am to get a rise on my eclairs. So I'm really looking for this to be the ball. As you can see it is. It hasn't split, the butter hasn't melted out, and which tells me it's all cooking together. And I now feel that the xanthan is doing its work. So the next step is we go back to the mixer. So what I have here is the mixture of the milk, the water and the melted butter, and I've added in the flour and the xanthan. Now, what I've done is stirred it round till I got the ball, made sure I'd cooked it through. I gave it about a minute of literally stirring and pressing it down to the base of the heat. I'm really happy with how it's turned out now. So the next stage, while it's still steaming hot, is I'm going to add it to the mixer. Now this is a little controversial because most pastry chefs would tell you you beat it by hand and you add your egg slowly. I found that doesn't work with gluten-free. I've tried it many times, and besides the fact you end up with an aching shoulder, it just doesn't come out the way you want. So whether I'm cheating or not, I'm using the mixer. So here it goes. Right, so that's now in the mixer, and I choose to use the whisk, which probably sounds a bit strange, but I've tried the beater and I don't get the same effects. So I'm going with this and we'll see how it goes. So the idea is I mix it while it's hot and then I slowly add. So as I said earlier, I've got 4 eggs in here, 4 free-range eggs, and I break them up a little bit, just whisk them lightly. It's one of those things that's difficult to know. You could say yes, 4 eggs, you could say 4 medium, 4 large, but I think you need a feel for it, because I've done it many times where I've tried to follow different recipes and it said 4 large eggs, and I've done it and they've come out too runny to rise. So I do it by eye, and I look for a consistency that you can pipe and that looks like it'll hold its shape when you pipe it. So I just put it in gradually. It's got to be beating all the time, because remember, you're adding cold eggs to a hot dough. About halfway through my egg mixture, and I can see it needs more. It's coming together. It looks a bit like a wet scrambled egg. Don't be scared. It's going to look like this, but it's going to come together. Something that it looks like I can pipe out, and as I'm doing eclairs, I want them to be long, maybe 3 inches, depends what size you want to go for. So now it looks like a dry scrambled egg. Again, I'm going to add a little bit more egg to it. I'm going to turn up the power, so it's now at 4. And again, this scrambled egg mixture is starting to create a paste. Look how that is. It looks like it's going to be a pipeable mixture. I don't know if that's a word, maybe it's a new word. And so what I'm going to do is just turn this off, and I'm going to show you on my spatula what that looks like. So it's smooth, it's firm, it looks like it'll hold its shape, so we'll get proper round, or you know, with a good rise on the eclairs, and that's about perfect for me. So the next thing is a piping bag. So I'm just going to put all this dough or pâté choux into my piping bag. I find this one's the best. I can grip them, you can buy them on a roll, I never run out. Some people will use a nozzle, I don't. Is the bowl scraped clean. I have all of my dough in here and I'm ready to pipe. So the next thing to do is cut the size of the hole that you want your eclairs to be, and remember, they will grow, so you do need to leave space between them. So I'm just going to go kind of an average size and just cut the point off. So in this kind of piping bag, I'm about 1 inch down. Right, so now you just want to sort of pipe sausages. I have no special technique, I just pipe and twist. Now this is the perfect dough, and you can easily just pipe profiteroles, you can pipe round ones with holes like donuts, and then double pipe, and then it's an easy cut, so you can fill them with creme patissiere or cream or chocolate mousseline cream. But for simple eclairs, this is what I do. Now many people at this point will use some of the glaze from the egg you didn't use and brush the top, makes them beautifully shiny. Another thing you can do is with a little bit of water on your finger, you can flatten down any of the little bumps that you see, and it just makes them completely smooth. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bake them. I'm going to put them in the oven, which, as I said, is about 220, and let them do their first rise before I move them to the bottom shelf and let them finish cooking. So here we go. Alright, so what I did is I cooked the eclairs for 20 minutes in total, but what I did is I put them on the top shelf for 14 minutes, and then I lowered the heat by 20, and I put them on the bottom shelf then for the last 6 minutes. And this is our final item. I'm really happy with them. This is not usually what you'd expect from gluten-free, but as you can see, they've risen, they're crisp, they've got a beautiful colour, they've got no soggy bottom, and there's a little hole, and what I used is a skewer, and I just poked the hole through all of the eclairs just to let all the hot steam escape. So They're cool now, so today is I'm going to cut them open, make them look even more indulgent, and this is my favourite knife for this. So I just cut them open just like this, and then I'm going to, which looks really, really good on an afternoon tea, and it tastes divine. What it is some cooked down cherries. The cherries I'm going to use for crumble, but I just took out a tablespoon or two of the juice and mixed it with icing sugar. This one is a little bit of an obsession. It is a single espresso and mixed with lots of icing sugar. Don't have it too late at night. And it is heavenly with whipped cream on an eclair, trust me. And then the last one is probably the classic one, and that is dark chocolate. You just, for instance, if you can have one of each, it's quite a nice mix. Right, so I have softly whipped some cream, just enough for it to hold its shape, and I am using a nozzle this time. So I'm using one of my piping bags, and I've put in a star nozzle. And it's because I've cut them open, I thought if I swirl them it'll look a bit prettier, and also it's quite indulgent because I can fill it with cream, which is one of my favourite things. So you'll see what I mean. Now I always choose whipping cream over double cream because I feel whipping cream stays soft in the fridge, whereas double cream goes harder in the fridge, and it suits Eclairs nicer to have that very soft bite. So now I'm going to start filling these little beauties. Okay, so that's one filled. You sort of get the idea. I swirled as I went, and I think it makes it look really indulgent. There's the second. The third. Again, cooked to perfection. Now, I'm going to start with my favourite. So I just simply pick it up and I get some of the icing. I just drag it across. Then I help to smooth it over. You wanted to coat the top, and this is the main reason I didn't glaze the top, because you can't really see it when you cover it. And there we have our espresso eclair. And last but not least, I'm going to do a chocolate. Again, this is just melted dark chocolate. Obviously, get the best you can. It does make a difference. And this will just drizzle across. This will dry in its own time. Doesn't need to dry to be enjoyed. So there is a glorious chocolate eclair. Alright, so as you can see, that's your first three done, but I think I might start with cherry just because I've never done it before and it looks amazing. So I'll try a little bit for you. It breaks beautifully. Amazing. So fruity, so creamy. The pastry is still crisp. It is unbelievable, and I definitely wouldn't share this with anybody. So that's the gluten-free eclairs. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I'll see you next time for some more of my gluten-free baking. Please subscribe, and I'll see you soon.